Please enjoy this feature presentation of the Crooked River Radio Network. This program is rated for all audiences.
Buckeye Time is sponsored by CrookedRiverRadio.com. Crooked River Radio is an internet radio station that is live 24/7 playing rock and adult contemporary top 40 hits from the 60s through the 90s. You can find us on Live 365, Simple Radio, Roku, Radio Garden, and even Alexa, as well as our website. Come on and join us on the Crooked River.
Welcome to Buckeye Time. All Ohio, all the time. Sports and intelligent conversation. Here's your hosts Erik, Nannarone, and Pat Morrow.
Hello and welcome to Buckeye Time. I'm Erik.
And I'm Pat.
And today, oh boy, do we have a show for you.
Do we have a show for you? Are you sure? Have you looked lately? I don't remember what you sent me. Did you send me something?
Yeah. No, I just send a bunch of Scrabble.
One of those grab bags thing, you know.
Yeah.
What's happening, Erik?
Oh, nothing. So today we are talking about.
We're going black for a second.
I was just about to say, why did you just go black? Did I lose you? No.
No, had to fix something. We're good.
Okay.
Now that I got you all flustered.
Yeah. We're talking. Now I have to go back to my Facebook post to make sure I got. Oh, okay. Most bizarre comment you have ever gotten on a social media post. Reacting to the video from the Uvalde shooting. We're talking about a fight at a semi-local middle school here in Ohio that looks really like, according to video, because video doesn't lie, that teachers and staff members were encouraging it and then mocking it after the fight was over. Did you happen to watch that already, Pat?
No, you're going to surprise me along with everybody else.
Okay, cool. I love surprising everybody. So, and then we're going to talk
every day. I get out of bed.
What?
I surprise everybody every day. I get out of bed.
Well, that's a step in the right direction.
Surprise! Here I am.
Here you are. So, without further ado, because ado goes very far if you don't, you know.
I do or I don't.
Yeah, exactly. But we're going to get into our first topic, which will be the Uvalde school video.
All right, we can do that. You ready to roll it?
Yep, roll it.
Here comes that beautiful bean footage. We'll be back on the other side. You're listening to Buckeye Time on Crooked River.
Well, today, the State House Committee investigating the shooting said that a 77-minute surveillance video is going to be shown in Uvalde and then released publicly this coming Sunday. No state law has prevented the release of that video. Our partners at KVUE-TV in Austin have obtained a copy of that video now, and after thorough editorial discussion, we have decided to show portions of that video because this public record helps all of us to understand what exactly happened inside Robb Elementary School that day. It provides more context, but of course not all context. The video, we should say here, is difficult to watch, obviously, especially knowing what happened that day. You will see the influx of law enforcement officers into the school, which should have enabled quicker action. You will also hear some of the shots fired by the gunman. But we have taken very careful steps here not to show any especially graphic images. Though it hasn't been released to the victims' families yet, the transparency and the accountability that this video provides weighs heavily in favor of showing it to you now. Our Ariel Placencia is joining us now this afternoon to walk us through what this video shows and what it means for the investigation. Ariel?
Yeah, Jason, we believe this video will provide transparency and more insight into what happened that day. This evening, we are going to play 4 clips of video, and we want to be clear, the video has been edited, so you will not hear screaming from the classrooms. You will not see any injured children. You will, however, hear gunshots. Now, this first video is one of the toughest to watch. You're about to see an elementary school student, but this student is not physically harmed. This is the moment the shooter enters the school and walks down the hallway. Behind the shooter, a child will approach that same hallway, and then you will hear the shooter fire several shots in the opposite direction as the child turns and runs away. The time is 11:33 a.m. Now, this next video begins roughly 3 minutes after what you just saw. You will not see the shooter. It's just as officers arrive with at least one rifle and try to confront the shooter. You will see them come into the frame at 11:36 a.m., but they will retreat back to the end of the hallway after hearing gunfire, and they will stay there for the next 45 minutes. Now, this video is a time lapse of a 45-minute clip from 11:37 a.m. to 12:22 p.m. real time. You will see officers gathered at the end of the hallway as more and more manpower as well as equipment arrives. Now, there is more footage of officers and equipment arriving and staging in that hallway. But for the next video we're about to show you, the time is now 12:50 p.m. That's about an hour and 15 minutes after the first officers were seen on video in the hallway. Officers move into the classroom and take out the shooter. And in this video, you can see just how many officers there are in the hallway when the gunman is taken down. Again, Governor Greg Abbott and many in the Uvalde community have called for the release of this video. DPS's investigation, I should say, continues into what happened that day, Jason.
It is gut-wrenching to watch for sure, Ariel, but again, this is intended to bring about that transparency that we've been talking about. There is obviously a lot to take in with this video. We want you to be sure to stay with WFAA throughout this evening. We're going to be working to give you the full context of these videos. We've also got a full write-up at WFAA.com.
All I can say is wow.
I mean, okay, that did not show the part I had the problem with. There was more video. They just showed kind of the beginning and the end. The middle part was where I had a problem with, where cops would act like they were going to go in and then back off quickly and just keep doing that for a while. And that commander, who, by the way, was just voted to school board right before that happened, I hope is fired and never gets a job in police again, or police work again, because he blew that. And for him to say, "Oh, I didn't know I was the one in charge," that's bull crap. Like, it really is.
Well, you have to understand, and that every time I see stuff like that, it boils down to training that I've had in the past. I've had this thing as an amateur operator. We have an opportunity to work with Homeland Security, so we have to know their procedures. And there's this thing called MCOM that I have to take, and I've taken classes in before. MCOM is there's about 8 sections of it, and it's basically chain of command. And you have, when the first person on that scene, or the highest rank, is called the incident commander, and he's the one that calls the shots. If he wanted that guy taken out, all he's got to do is say, take him out. And that would have been the end of it. This guy, from what I'm seeing,
he wanted it to be a hostage situation.
What the hell? He thought it was a hostage, and it wasn't. It was just murder.
It was an active shooter. An active shooter, they're supposed to go in right away. They're not supposed to wait. I mean, I was talking to my friend who's a sheriff's deputy in North Carolina, and I'm like, what's your take on this? Does, did they do right? Or is the procedure different by state? And he's like, no. He's like, we take an oath right when we're sworn in as an officer to preserve life, and they didn't. So that's where they screwed up.
Well, that was just wrong.
Mhm.
And if there was they need to follow their own damn rules is what they need to do, and they didn't do that at all. This crap about the confusion with, I didn't know I was supposed to even be here. Well, you're the damn incident commander. You're the one that's, everything's gonna fall on, and you're not gonna take responsibility for that.
How don't you know that you're the one in charge? If the chief's not there, and it's your job to be in charge when the chief's not there.
And you can bet that when that was on the way up there, hang on a second, just hang up on that thing.
So,
getting spam calls all afternoon.
Oh, yeah, I've been getting this too.
V714. I don't know what the hell it is.
Exactly. But what were you saying on this thing? Topic.
Anytime that you can bet that as that guy was getting there, or whoever was called in, they were assigned the incident commander. That's all there was to it. And if it was him, he knew that from the get-go. He knew it. He had to have known it going in. And I don't believe. I think he called the wrong shots, is what I think. I think he was trying to treat it as a hostage thing.
And I mean, anytime there's a shooter, unless it's like a domestic incident, it should be treated as an active shooter. The domestic incidents should be a hostage, but any shooting at a public place, whether school or company, that should automatically be an active shooter.
Yeah.
That should be procedure should automatically be active shooter procedure no matter what. And that they should sue that accident commander for everything he has, because he cost how many people their lives? 20 something?
Yep, and they're all kids. Most of them.
Well, yeah. There were 19 kids and 2 adults.
Yep.
So, or there were 2 adults. I might be over.
I've kind of sort of been following this ever since the beginning, and some of the stuff that you hear, some of it's a little over dramatized, but most of it, it's just like this thing that happened in Akron with,
We got a guest. Sorry to cut you off. Hi, Justine.
There's certain criteria that hi, Justine.
Hello.
There's certain criteria that these things go through, and part of the criteria says you do this at this point, and part of the criteria says no, and for them to treat that as a hostage, certain things had to have happened in order for that to have been treated as hostage. And I don't think they knew what the hell they were doing.
No.
What's up, kiddo?
Sorry, I'm late to the party. What are we talking about?
We are talking we played the surveillance cam from the Uvalde elementary school shooting. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen it, but wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they saying that it was a hostage situation, or?
That was from the beginning. That's what the incident commander. Thank you. Called it as. That's why they didn't go in and call. That's why they didn't go in and shoot the guy. That's why it took them 77 minutes to kill the guy.
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Wasn't he outside the school? They had a confrontation with the police there?
Well, no, he crashed. Then
he crashed and then went into the school.
Officer saw the crash and actually had him lined up in the sight of his rifle, but didn't pull the trigger quick enough, and he got out of range, and then that was just in time for him to go into the elementary school.
Wow. That's all I can say is just wow.
Yeah. There's a lot of that going on around here. Wowzers.
Yeah. We'll get into the next video. Have you seen the video from that middle school fight in Lorain from like 2 months ago? So, and you'll be able to judge for yourself once we play the video and you see it. But it looks like there's a teacher that's inside, that's like encouraging the fight, he like steps in before they start fighting and then backs off, and then they start throwing punches, and then him and a female teacher start at the end of the video start mocking the fight. So let's roll the tape and we'll talk about it after.
All right, we'll be back on the other side of this. You're listening to the Buckeye Time Show, and you're probably watching it too. A lot of that going around on Crooked River. Yep. We'll be right back.
New tonight, the Lorain City School District is looking into allegations that middle school teachers encourage students to fight. The incident happened back in May at Southview Middle School and was captured on video from student cell phones and hallway security cameras. The videos appear to show staff members encouraging 2 students to fight and then mocking them in front of other students. Lorain City School Superintendent Dr. Jeff Graham says the district is conducting a full investigation.
Wow. Another wow.
Yeah, that didn't even show the one teacher inciting or the mocking, which I wish I would have found the 19 Action News video, but they YouTube didn't have it, where literally the guy, like I said, stepped in before the fight and then backs off. That's when they start throwing punches. Then him and another staff member were mocking the fight after. So it's like,
there again, I don't know what the hell this world's coming to be honest about
I
it.
mean, should those people, if they were teachers, should they lose their jobs and get their teaching license revoked? Because, okay, go ahead.
Was the teachers, were they older or younger?
The 20s, 30s.
They were
20s to late 30s.
So younger.
Yeah.
Not trying to, what's the word I'm looking at? Not trying to take sides or anything, but it seems like the younger the teachers are, this is funny. Let's just go add to it. Not right. But that's their mindset nowadays. Oh, we're gonna get in a fight, or we'll start shit and just let the kids finish it because it's middle school kids.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you what, it depends on where you go. I think I've discussed this before on this show. I had an opportunity to watch a fight at Ellet High School, which Ellet is about a little bit south of me, and it's these two kids had a crowd gather around them, and they started duking it out. And
at least they weren't it out.
And what happened was, all of a sudden, you see these, I don't know if they were security people or what, but they come flying out of that building, and cars. There was a car come flying into the parking lot, safely, of course, by flying, I mean as fast as he could safely possibly go. And by the time that they got out of the cars, which was 15 or 20 seconds, the fight was over and everything had dispersed. That's the way you got to break this stuff up. You can't just leave it go like that.
Mm-hmm.
When you start leaving it go, that starts the liabilities and everything else.
I remember there was one time in school when I was down in the library. There was a fight outside the library. I ended up calling the office and being like, you need to get the school resource officer and the principals down here quick. There's a fight going on. And within a minute, people, all administration and the school resource officer come rushing around a corner. I'm like, oh, well, that's good.
With this fight, there was some big burly women there. And this one almost overweight security guard. And they come a hell and boy, that was all there was to it. They were ready. They were ready for they were ready to stop whatever was going on. And the way you could tell that they were attached to the school was they had these, I can take that off of there now. They had these, there was the badges and that on them.
Mm-hmm.
And as they were running, the badges was kind of flapping behind them in the wind. But it was something else to watch. Now, the question is, why don't all the schools treat it that way? They're supposed to.
I mean, yeah, they are, but
they're supposed to, but the adrenaline gets running and, you can't help the way you react. A lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't think they should lose their jobs because they were mocking them, but they need some
Well, the thing about mocking them, though, Justine, is what happens if they were the ones that were mocking them enough that it started.
True.
Um,
Some type of correction needs to be done.
I'll
But
send you that video so you can kind of see the mocking and all that. So maybe
why don't you put the links in Buckeye Time
Okay.
so that everybody can see them?
kids are kids. They're going to fight.
Mm.
Yeah, that's about
Just like adults do. You know, adults are adults. They're going to fight. Because everybody's testosterone and estrogen, you know?
I
Especially
remember.
estrogen.
I remember there was a.
Estrogen starts it every time, right, Ellie?
No.
Ellie's listening. So, right, Ellie? Estrogen starts it all the time, don't it?
I call bullshit.
You can call it whatever you want.
Why is it always got to be the woman's fault?
Well, this is gonna be. This next story is gonna be.
We need to slow it down a little bit because we're going to run out of stories before we run out of time.
I'll throw this story that I have out there, and you can respond to this. I remember when I was in high school, there was this fight between two girls, and the first teacher on the scene, or the first two teachers on the scene, were guys. And they're both looking at each other like, what do we do? Because we can't break this up because we could get in trouble for, putting our hands on female students and lose our jobs. But it's our job to break up the fight. What do they do? In your opinion, should they have broken it up or should they have just stood there and been bystanders?
Well, back when I was in school, if fights broke out between girls, guy teachers were all over, trying to break that up. They hadn't, that was their responsibility, was to break it up. It didn't matter, but different time.
Me Too movement.
Yep. Oh, he touched me incorrectly. You were fighting. Hello.
Yeah.
Oh,
exactly.
I could make a statement right now, but I won't.
Please do. Please do.
You're not supposed to stick a damn gun out the window and shoot somebody and not expect to get shot back. How about that?
That too. I don't know how that pertains to.
This is just if they do pertain to each other. This is right. This is the old right and wrong thing.
Yep.
You can be right all the time until you're wrong. And then all of a sudden, everybody's going to jump up and down. And it's like we were talking about the procedures a little bit ago, Eric. You've got certain criteria that follow in certain cases. And there is things there that I'm almost afraid to look at this phone because I already got a bite me out of Ellie.
I like you.
Yeah. All right, I'll look at it. Let's see what she has to say. Play stupid games and wins. Or first of all, it was BAM. And then play stupid games and win stupid prizes. Got that right.
Amen and hallelujah.
I'll take that one. But the whole thing comes down to the fact that you got criteria that's supposed to be followed in each thing. Even that Uvalde thing. When you start stepping over the line and people get hurt, you're going to get a backlash. The biggest mistake that they had in that girl fight is that they didn't have two different the people that were responding there should have been one of each a pair of
Gender.
each pair of each people there to actually step in and take care of.
Well, the two teachers were of the closest classrooms, so because this happened right in the middle of class change, so the two closest teachers to that fight were male teachers that were out in the hallway. A couple woman teachers rushed over as quick as they could, but they weren't out in the hallway. It seemed like the male teachers would kind of be out watching the hallways to make sure nothing would go on,
Right.
and then the women teachers would stay in their classrooms. But I think after that kind of changed.
I don't think it should have mattered. I think they should have broke up the fight.
Yeah,
Girls,
I think so
a
too.
fight's a fight. Somebody's gonna get hurt. Stop it from escalating, no matter who you are. You know.
I agree, but you also gotta worry about now people, the two that were in the fight coming back and saying, or falsely accusing a teacher, and I don't think the male teacher, the respect level is not what it used to be, and that's what it comes down to, and that, can open up the Pandora's box for a whole another topic that we could get into, which I think we've already talked about on previous shows. But, we can talk about that. The respect level for adults is not what it used to be.
And why is that?
Lack of parenting. And I think it comes down to all these single-parent homes, the lack of fathers these kids have. Not to say a mother can't raise a kid, so don't take that out of context. But I'm saying, the mother is, I think, most of the time working 2-3 jobs, so she's not even around for the kid, sadly. So, it comes down to them not having that solid base at home.
All right, Ellie's got a
you.
solution here. So throw the kids throw them out of school, but the parents will say, my little darling is a good kid and never does anything wrong.
That's a whole nother topic we could get into.
And, there again, this applies to about everything we've talked to tonight.
Yeah.
There's always going to be three sides. There's going to be my side, there's going to be your side, there's going to be the right
and
side.
The truth.
And the truth, right.
One thing is, notice every time something, in this case a shooting happens, there's always, I was just talking about this with a couple of my coworkers. Notice the first thing that is always said about the shooter, oh, he was always a good guy. When they interview people about him, oh, I had no problems with him. He was totally normal.
He was a great kid.
Yeah.
He was helpful in school, blah, blah, blah.
Or famous
Oh.
with that Castro guy up in Cleveland. We used to have barbecues with that dude.
Yeah, we never knew where the meat came from, but there was always barbecues. He was barbecuing all the time. We just called it mystery meat. I think you're thinking
the wrong case there.
We just called it
with that dude.
Yeah.
We just called it mystery meat.
Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Dad, you're thinking of a different one.
Yeah.
We're talking about the 3 girls.
Yeah, the Amanda Berry.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that other one where he killed all the women.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Sowell or whatever. Yeah.
Now, that would have been a barbecue.
Oh gosh.
I wouldn't want to barbecue with that guy.
Ew, that's disgusting, Pat.
Okay. Yeah. People were killed in the. Come on.
Little insensitive.
Yeah, shit happens.
We gotta remember who we're dealing with, Justine.
Yeah.
Wow. Dad, I thought I raised you better than that.
Justine, I am your father.
Well, well, has this show gone off the rails?
Yeah, nothing new.
Yeah. Hey, it's good. At least we're getting a good laugh out of it. Anyway.
Stupid
Alright.
COVID cough.
Well, we have a few minutes till I want to get into the Bon-Jovi thing. So, and now I lost my train of thought.
Let's plug the other shows.
Oh, okay.
got a
I
minute.
now remember, but yeah, we'll plug the other shows. So Saturday from 11 to noon is Four Guys on Sports with Sean, Nate, Gordon, and Pat.
Wait, hang on a second. Did you wish your brother a happy birthday?
I called him this morning, so now what?
So, jeez.
I called him at 10 minutes to 8 his time. Did you?
No, I wasn't up at 10 minutes to 8 this time. But I did say something to him on Facebook, so that counts. Anyway, back to you, Erik.
Phone call. Phone call's better.
Don't let us screw up your show.
Just derail the promos that you asked me to do. So, you got Tales of the Lore Hunters on Sunday morning from 11 to noon with Beth Roos and Pat. You got Radioactive Sunday from 7 to 9. I almost said 9 to 11, so my head is way somewhere else apparently. Doggy.
Squirrel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good one, Justine. Good one.
You know I'm known for that. Where was I?
Squirrel.
Oh yeah, Radioactive 7 to 9 Sunday night, and then World According to Elmer 7 to 8 on Tuesday.
Yep.
Must have focus.
What was that?
I said, must have focus, Daniel-san.
Yeah. Well, we'll get into a story I wanted to do last week, but since we ran out of time last week, I'll do it this week. The shortage on bus drivers and how cities are having trouble, school districts that is, and I guess the public bus too, but I'm just going school districts with this story, are having trouble finding sub bus drivers, or just they're left not knowing what to do when a bus driver calls off because they don't have somebody to fill in for them. You know, what I guess the big question is, why do people not want to be bus drivers? I mean, I think we kind of
Full bus
covered
driver or just bus drivers in general?
that. Well, the story was school bus drivers, but we can widen it out.
Well,
I wouldn't want to be a school bus driver.
It goes back to the whole respect thing.
Exactly. All these bratty little kids. Come
Yeah.
on. I wouldn't.
Well, there's more to it than that too.
I'm just saying what I
With ever since, isn't it funny that before COVID you never heard about any shortages of any shortages of manpower pretty much anywhere. Maybe a little. You heard a little bit about it in the restaurant business. Now all of a sudden, we went from having manpower at pretty decent levels. Now all of a sudden, after COVID, or during COVID and after, we go from all of a sudden we go to having no manpower. I can't hire people. I can't pay them enough. You know, we get people.
People don't want to work.
You kind of got to wonder about the generation of workers that's out there now too. They're wanting
people
high
don't
dollar.
want to work.
They're wanting high dollar for not doing anything.
Exactly.
And that's when I grew up a laborer. That's all there was to it. I put my time in. I worked since I was 14 years old at something or another, one way or another. I worked in restaurants till I was 18. I worked with, I wound motors for a couple of years. I went into production at, I was a welder. I went into production at other places. And finally finished off my career after 30 years at Chrysler. And, I made a living wage. I was always happy to get the paycheck on Friday. And what's the matter with you?
The dog almost fell off the rocking chair.
That poor dog. But I made a decent wage, and I was always happy to have the paycheck on Friday. These kids today, they want the paycheck on Friday, but they don't want to do crap for it.
Oh, and the thing is, you bring up the wage. Even $11.50 an hour is not really in today's. It's all relative because $11.50 an hour is not really a livable wage. I just am using $11.50 because that's around what I paid for from the grocery store. But that's not a livable wage. I don't expect to live like high end, but that's not a livable wage.
And when I got out on my own, I was making minimum wage, and I couldn't live on it. We ended up being fairly lucky, and things turned into situations that I ended up eventually making a decent wage. There was a lot of issue in between there. Let me go back to Ellie here for a second. She wants to know, did you guys just come from happy hour somewhere? And the problem with kids is it's because the kids are woke ass brats. Duh.
Haha, that's a good one. Interesting.
Amen, sister. Amen. And I wish I came from happy hour someplace.
Yeah. that would be a way better story. But yeah, I mean, I get it's all relative. Like people, like I talked to my grandma, and she's like, $11.50 would be amazing, because back in the day when they would make nothing. But I always tell her it's relative. You know,
when I hired into Chrysler in '78, you know what I was making?
Like probably about $4.70.
$8.34 an hour.
Okay, I was a little off, but
and that was 1978. And minimum wage was $4 and something back then.
Okay, so I was close.
And I thought, I thought I hit the lottery. And now it's hard to live on the pension they're giving me.
And I mean, I get you have to work up, and luckily in the industry I work, well, both of the industries. I work in between retail and restaurant. It's easy to work up the ranks quick, which I think I told y'all last week. I'm trying to work up to
Produce assistant.
produce assistant. Yeah.
That's the bad part between my era and yours. In my era, we had manufacturing in this country. The manufacturing's all gone, and it's leaving more and more every day. You know, the manufacturing actually paid decent wages. They're back, even as far as about 73 or 4. There was when I was on unemployment, I was always told, you can get a job in manufacturing, and it may not be around here that long, but you can always, the biggest jobs in this country are going to be service jobs before it's over. And I hate to say it, but it turned out true.
You were right.
And that's almost disgusting. Those service jobs don't pay crap. They just want you to, and there's always been a push to screw the middle guy, screw the middle class people.
And the problem is, these retail stores, Walmart is well known for that, want to go so thin staffed where there's one person that might have to cover 6-7 departments. I was that one person, and I would get screamed at all the time because, oh, there's no one to make me a fishing license. There's no one to sell me a gun. Well, I'm sorry, like, I don't have that special training to be able to do that. Like, it's not my fault. Call management, call corporate. I don't care. Stop yelling at me.
Well, there's that attitude we were talking about earlier, Erik.
But, I mean,
that was done for the shock value, by the way.
I mean, though, it's not my fault I don't have the training, and also I think it's best I didn't. How to, be able to sell guns.
You have to be careful with the training thing. You could have all the training in the world and not get anywhere. And if you have all that training, they're going to expect that much more out of you.
I know, I made that mistake.
And even worse.
And
you were kind of cutting in and out, Justine.
And they'll treat you even worse. The more training you got,
yeah,
and get anywhere, they'll treat you even worse. You have to put up with more crap.
I get it. I mean, I know with management, I'll have to deal with it, but the money will make it worth it. I'm not just doing it for the money. Like, I honestly think I'd be a really good manager, and I know I'd be more reliable than most young people coming into the training program. So, and I've been told that literally.
When you being where you're at, you have to learn to work the system. You need to learn to learn the thresholds that you can push stuff to. You need to take and learn the lazy threshold, where they might think you're the laziest damn thing in the world, but they're still going to, that's going to get you an easier job because they don't want to fight with you. As far as you need to argue to the point where you can, just to the point where they're going to say, well, all right, if you don't like it, here, leave. That's where you got to back off at. But you can get away with a lot more if you know how to treat the system. I've always had this motto. I've always been the first one to work with the system because the system is so screwed up that it'll screw itself by the time you're done. And if you follow that attitude, you'll do all right for yourself. You got to look out for yourself. Look out for number one first.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's just like, and even going full time without a higher like title for me wouldn't even make sense to do, because I'd be making the same wage. I would just be guaranteed 40 hours. It's like, why would I do that?
Justine, this isn't aimed at you, but this is something Ellie just said. I don't take management jobs that put you on call 24/7. You will have no life. That's speaking from experience. And that's because that's experience, the experience that she's got. I believe Ellie's a nurse, or was, and in the healthcare industry. And I would believe that's probably the same way with you. Am I right, Justine?
Exactly.
You have to learn how to work for you.
That's why I quit my other job, because they expected us to work for pennies and not have a life outside of work.
And your husband was the same way.
Exactly. And that's why he quit. Once again, healthcare.
Well, it's not just that way in healthcare. It's that way quite a bit, because supposedly there's so thin of a workforce that it's hard to deal with.
I mean, I remember at one point, one of the market district stores in the area, they couldn't find people. They had over 50 openings, and people weren't applying. It wasn't that people were interviewing and just not getting the job. They were just not applying. And I think at that same point, the store that I'm at was hiring for like 20 different positions, and they couldn't get anybody.
And that's the way it is a lot of times, especially if you've got physical labor. That tire place that I worked for right as I retired, which is coming up on a year, by the way. August 6th, it'll be a year I've been retired. But I talked to the guy that was a manager of that tire place here a couple of months back. He told me, he says, we can use any help we can get. He says, but unfortunately, I can't get any help. He says, what it comes down to is if we do hire somebody, first of all, they won't be able to pass the drug test.
I've heard that too.
And secondly, if they do pass the drug test, they'll come in and work for a day or so, decide they don't like it, and quit.
I mean, I've seen people that were training for managers that were, and this is multiple at where I work, and they were there for 2 days and all of a sudden never saw them again. I'm like, well, one, that's not going to help you ever get a manager job, and two, that's just unprofessional. If you can't handle it, at least let them know, hey, this isn't for me, instead of just not showing up to work.
Ellie just brought up a good point, and Flora actually saw part of this. There have been people saying that they are applying for jobs, but not getting the job because they're overqualified. And, Flora was in the same boat here. And we can't hire you because you've got too many qualifications, and you'll probably leave here. You probably won't like this job when you'll leave here. And we're personal experience with that. But what do you do?
At least they're honest.
What are you going to do about it,
Mm-hmm.
And then on top of all of this, let me switch back to something here.
So we could actually see you.
Then on top of all of this, you've got this damned inflation, which they're about to take up the ante, as they say. In another couple of weeks, they're going to take and up the prime interest rate another 1%. And with that, if that's going to happen, your prices right now are absurd. Mm-hmm. The prices you pay for food every week, prices you pay for toilet paper and milk are through the roof. The price you pay for gas is absurd, even though it's starting to come down. You know, all this stuff affects the economy. And what they're going to do is they're going to overtax and over increase that interest rate. And what that's going to do is it's going to put the brakes on, and it's already starting. You can tell by some of the stuff. Once this starts into action, then it's going to go down to the point where nobody's going to be able to afford anything. And once it gets to that point, then if they don't loosen that up, it's just going to stay that way.
I mean, that's why I talk about livable wage. You know, people don't want to work for the $11.50 an hour because you can't live off that. I don't know how they live off just not working at all, but I mean, how do you nowadays? You almost just to stay afloat, you need 2 incomes. You know, whether it's working 2 jobs or, you know, if a person's married, you know, both people, both the husband and the wife need to have a job just to make ends meet.
Yep. Even in retirement, you have to have 2 retirements to live. Mm-hmm. Anyway, Ellie told us we better be careful because we're going to trigger her political views. And we don't want to do that.
No, we don't.
All right, let's roll this other.
Yeah, we've killed enough time. So, today our music segment will be Bon-Jovi. Quickly before that, I was actually just watching a documentary today on Def Leppard, the Reels Network. They did a thing on Bon Jovi too. It's like they document 6 different songs by a certain band, and then they'll go like in depth on the band also. It was very interesting, which we've kind of talked about before with Def Leppard, that the drummer actually got in a car accident and his arm got ripped off. And so he does everything with his feet, while he plays with the one arm, the right arm, and then anything he would have to play with his left arm, he plays with his feet. He uses like pedals that will represent the type of drum that he would have been playing with his left arm when he had it.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool. Actually, I'm hoping to get VIP seats at Blossom for Def Leppard when they come back. They're in Cleveland tonight, but
yeah, that's going to be a hell of a concert up there.
Yeah. I wasn't able to make it. Darn it.
My friend is there and is sending me videos nonstop. I'm like, oh, I want to be there, but tickets were so expensive.
That's hairband heaven right now.
Oh yeah, but let's get into this Bon Jovi thing.
All right, we'll be back on the other side of this. You're watching and listening to the Buckeye Time broadcast on Crooked River.
New Jersey-born rocker John Bon Jovi had a part-time job in a women's shoe shop before landing work at the Power Station Studios in Manhattan. While there, he recorded a demo of songs he'd written and began the long, hard road to finding fame and fortune, which began in earnest with the formation of a band that could have ended up being called Johnny Electric. At the suggestion of a friend, they reluctantly agreed to go along with Bon Jovi and scored their first hit in 1984 with Runaway. Alongside John, the lineup featured guitarist Richie Sambora, keyboard player David Bryan, drummer Tico Torres, and bass player Alec John Such. Unlike Duran Duran, Bon Jovi have never broken up, and apart from the 1994 departure of Alec, the lineup has remained rock solid. Although all members have been involved in side projects, they've rocked on together through 10 studio albums, 2 compilations and 1 live album, performing over 2,600 concerts in more than 50 countries, in front of 34 million fans. Having already passed their 20th anniversary when they released their 9th album in 2005, Have a Nice Day delivered the band the best first week sales of their career, shifting more than 200,000 albums in the US. They were in a great position to give back and donated the proceeds from sales of the title track to building homes in a depressed area of Philadelphia.
We're taking all the money from the video and using a very small portion to actually film it, but the rest of it is going to building houses for Habitat for Humanity, which ties back to all of my philanthropy and social issues that I've been very involved in the last almost 3 years now as the owner of the Philadelphia Soul. And what has made the team so successful is giving back to the community. Now that'll be multiplied by 10 because it's the band.
The album's second single, Who Says You Can't Go Home, ended up becoming a crowd favourite on Bon-Jovi's world tour to support the album. The duet with Jennifer Nettles also went to #1 on the Billboard Country chart.
Very nice, you know, it's first rock band ever, and it's #4 in the Hot AC charts, and you know, going steadily up the pop charts now that it's out on that format, so it's doing great.
While Duran Duran had Mark Ronson to help them breathe new life into their back catalogue, Bon Jovi reinterpreted their big hits themselves.
You need to be removed from a record to understand what it really is. You know, when you're caught up in the moment, you're just doing it artistically. These were old friends to a lot of people in the world, these songs, and to take them and recreate them so dramatically was a risk, but for us a reward.
Instead of ramping the tempo up on old favourites like Keep the Faith, Bed of Roses and Living on a Prayer, they took an unplugged approach and re-recorded the songs at ballad tempo.
Well, that one caught me off guard.
We're back here on Buckeye Time. We want to thank, I don't know who that was. So, we want to thank that documentary series for that video. But yeah, that was interesting. I had known he owned a arena football team back when that was actually a thing, before that league disbanded, which I wish it didn't, because it was kind of a cool wrinkle to the sport. But anyway,
is he the one that owns a restaurant where you pay what you can?
I don't know.
If you can't pay, you know, he's like, don't worry about it. Because other people are, like, giving him a lot of donations and stuff. I can't remember. I know that one of the rock stars was doing that. I can't remember if it was him or not.
That's pretty sweet if he is.
Yeah.
Let me look. He does own a restaurant. But I don't know if that's him.
And most of those guys do.
I don't know if that was him. I didn't see anything online about that, but it could be. Let's see. We could quickly get into the most bizarre. Do we want to table that?
Well, it's up to you.
Can we go over
It's up to you. We got
a couple
few
minutes?
more minutes, Jess.
Okay. So what's the most bizarre social media comment that you've ever gotten? I don't know if you saw my post just about the bizarre
Yeah, I saw it.
comment I got. I had posted. I'll start. I had posted looking for sponsors in a local community group. I really wish I would have told Pat to put that in the system so we could pull it up and have everybody read the post. But now I gotta find let me find the post while we're talking about this. But anybody else had a really bizarre comment?
As a result of that post, Sunday's show for Radioactive is going to have a segment on what it's like, or what is the effect of sugar mamas on society.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna be there. The one who triggered the topic's not even gonna be there.
I've already talked this over with Flora. We're already. I'm already gonna put it in the lineup. Sugar mamas on society. Yep, that's what we got to do.
Well, okay. So mostly the point of the comment was I can't even get it. I can't even do it with a straight face. They're like, I don't know if you mean advertising like this, but if anybody needs a sugar mama, I got this person. I'm like, okay, that was not the intention of advertising that I want to do. But anyway, anybody else have a bizarre social media comment that they've ever seen that they remember?
I think I don't think I've really ever gotten something that bizarre, but I've put out a few of them myself. I mean,
I've never gotten anything bizarre either, but
when I
remember. Go ahead, sorry.
When I see something funny online, no matter how off the wall it is, it usually gets posted.
Oh yeah, I've noticed. We all have noticed.
And I don't hold nothing back.
But
yeah,
anyway,
I remember one post. I had posted something. It was hilarious, and I had tagged a couple of my friends in. And a family member who shall remain nameless commented back telling me to stop acting like teenage boys, to grow up. And I'm like, you know what? It's funny. Shut up.
You'll be surprised at how many people will usually tune in for that. I mean, as far as some of the stuff I've gotten, where I normally post this stuff, I've got over 200 followers because of that. I started that Facebook thing, the Crooked River Radio thing. It's got, I think, 200 or 300 people that follow me just because of the weird stuff I post there.
I feel like you should do the same with Twitter, because I think you'd get a lot more of a following if you did that with Twitter. Because I think a lot more people use Twitter nowadays.
Well,
even
I'm actually getting, just by posting every couple of days or so, even the Instagram stuff is starting to come up follower-wise. I think I'm up to like 70 there. I just wish... this stuff always takes a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
As far as to get rolling in that. It's going to go eventually.
I've noticed even with, posting the podcasts on either different podcast groups or on Twitter more, it seems to be getting more traction.
Well, that's the thing. One of the secrets to getting one of the secrets to getting traction is posting, and it's that way as far as shows too. If we take and do 4 or 5, 6 shows in a row, and I post it to certain places, everybody gets into a niche of watching it, and they're really kind of ticked off if it doesn't show up. I'm beginning to realize that now. And then the ones that do show up will knock your socks off. But there again, there are things that nobody posts anything to that do better than anything we do post to. That Lore Hunter show, for the one. I mean, it just as an example, it's got like 60 some views this month, in the last month. The only thing close to it's the Elmer show. It's just the way it works sometimes. And before last Sunday, the last podcast that was done on, in fact, she's up to 65 now. The last podcast that was shown on that particular title was 7/18 of 2020.
I feel like both of those are niche, like.
Well, and it's good that they
podcasts.
Are. If we could
That's why they're getting so much.
If we could get a few
because
niches like that.
People know what they're tuning into. They know it's gonna be something ham radio with World According to Elmer, or they know it's gonna be some myth or whatever with Lore Hunters.
Yeah.
Where with us or Radioactive,
you never know what you're gonna get.
What?
You never know what you're gonna get with us.
Exactly.
But there again, we'll develop a following too.
Hey, we're still getting a pretty good amount.
And it's going to do nothing but go up.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, heck, it's almost 10 after 8. See what you got me talking so much, I just forgot to shut the show off.
Well. Quick promos again, because if you're still listening, maybe you didn't hear before. Saturday, 4 Guys on Sports, 11 to noon. Sunday, Tales of the Lore Hunters from 11 to noon. Sunday night from 7 to 9 is Radioactive. And Tuesday, World According to Elmer, 7 to 8. As the saying goes, it's time to be like a hockey player and get the puck out of here.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good night, Pittsburgh!
This has been a Crooked River Media production.